Now, the United Nations says that at least 1,000 people, primarily ethnic Tigrayans, have been detained in cities across Ethiopia in the past week. In a statement on Tuesday, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights said some reports say the number of detained Tigrayans is higher. The UN says the conditions in detention centers were poor and overcrowded, and many were not told the reasons for their detention. The organization says 10 UN workers are still being held after the arrest of 16 last week, while 34 contractors remain in detention from the 72 arrested last week.
That arrests have been continuing over the last week in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa, as well as in Gondar, Bahir Dar and other locations, as police invoke the excessively wide provisions of the state of emergency declared on the 2nd of November to arrest, search and detain people. These developments are all the more disturbing given that most of those detained are reported to be people of Tigrayan origin, arrested often on suspicion of being affiliated to or supporting the Tigray People's Liberation Front. There are worrying reports that many of those detained have not been informed of the reasons for their detention, nor have they been brought before a court of law or other tribunal to review the reasons for their detention and have not been formally charged. We're also concerned at some reports of ill treatment in detention. With specific regard to the situation of UN local staff, 10 are still being held, as well as some 34 drivers subcontracted by the UN. We call for all those still in detention to be immediately released, or else a court or other independent impartial tribunal should review the reasons for their detention, or they should be formally charged. As the High Commissioner has warned, there are grave risks that such measures, far from stabilising the situation, will affect further the already compromised delivery of humanitarian aid, deepen divisions, endanger civil society and human rights defenders, provoke greater conflict and only add to the considerable human suffering in Ethiopia. Detention must be ended as soon as the individual no longer represents a threat and should be applied in a non-discriminatory way. Arrests and detentions currently occurring in Ethiopia under the powers of the state of emergency do not respect these conditions. In addition, certain rights are non-derogable, even in a state of emergency, including freedom from torture, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment, the right to life, and the right to equality and non-discrimination.